Leave them silently. Ladies and gentlemen, in life, there will come moments when you realize that staying in certain situations, relationships, or environments no longer serves your purpose, your growth, or your peace. These are the moments that test not only your courage, but your wisdom. It is easy to react, to explain, to argue, or to plead for understanding. But what if I told you that sometimes the most profound way to leave an impression is to leave silently? No explanations, no dramatic exits, no parting words, just a quiet, resolute decision to walk away. Today, I want to talk about the power of silence in departure, not as an act of weakness, but as an act of strength, self-respect, and growth. It's about understanding that your worth is not defined by the noise you make when you leave, but by the peace you carry as you move forward. The power of quiet exit. When we think about leaving a situation, we often associate it with confrontation, explanation, or closure. Society teaches us that when we exit, we owe others a reason. But what if the greatest strength lies in leaving quietly? This act, though seemingly passive, carries a depth of wisdom and an immense power that few understand. Leaving silently is not about avoiding conflict, it is about choosing peace. When you walk away without making a scene, you are making a conscious decision to protect your dignity. You are saying without words that your energy is too precious to be spent on unnecessary drama. In silence, you preserve not only your self-respect, but also the respect others might eventually have for you. In a world where noise often equates to attention, silence stands out. It commands respect. It forces people to reflect. When you leave a space without announcing your departure, it compels those left behind to ask why. They may never verbalize it, but your absence becomes a mirror. It makes people evaluate their actions, their words, and their treatment of you. Silence in this context is not passive but profoundly active. It is not about running away, it is about choosing to rise above. It's about understanding that not every battle is worth fighting, not every slight is worth addressing, and not every audience deserves your voice. Sometimes your quiet departure speaks volumes more than your words ever could. But let's address the fear that often accompanies this approach. Many of us hesitate to leave silently because we fear being misunderstood. We worry that our silence will be seen as weakness or that people will create their own narratives about why we left. These fears are valid, but they are rooted in a misunderstanding of where true strength lies. True strength is not found in how others perceive you, it is found in how you perceive yourself. If you leave with integrity, knowing that your decision aligns with your values and purpose, then the opinions of others become irrelevant. People may talk, they may judge, but their words cannot alter the truth of your journey. Consider this: when a tree sheds its leaves in autumn, it does so quietly. It doesn't announce to the forest that it's preparing for a new season. It simply lets go, knowing that what falls away is no longer needed. In the same way, when you leave a situation silently, you are shedding what no longer serves you. You are preparing for your next season, a season of growth, renewal, and purpose. There is also a spiritual depth to leaving silently. It reflects trust in a higher power, in the belief that you don't need to justify your actions because the path ahead is already set. Silence allows room for divine intervention. It shows that you have faith that the truth will always surface in its time. You don't need to defend yourself or prove your point. You simply need to walk in alignment with your purpose. Silence also has the power to disrupt unhealthy cycles. Many toxic situations thrive on reactions on the energy we give when we argue, explain, or justify. When you leave silently, you break that cycle. You deny toxicity the fuel it needs to continue. In your absence, the chaos eventually subsides, leaving space for clarity to emerge. In the end, leaving silently is about empowerment. It is about taking control of your narrative, not by shouting it from the rooftops, but by living it. It is about valuing your peace over your pride, your growth over your grievances, and your future over your past. So when the time comes to leave, whether it's a relationship, a job, a friendship or a toxic environment, consider the power of a quiet exit. Let your silence be your strength, your dignity, and your statement. In doing so, you will not only honor yourself, but also inspire others to do the same. Self-respect over explanation. In life, there comes a point where you must decide what deserves your energy and what doesn't. Often the temptation is to explain yourself, to clarify your actions, justify your choices, and seek understanding from those who question you. But the truth is, not everyone is entitled to an explanation, and not every decision requires one. Self-respect begins when you recognize that your worth is not tied to others' ability to understand you. Too often, people expend endless energy trying to explain themselves to individuals who have already made up their minds. They go in circles, defending their choices, justifying their values, and seeking approval. But here's the reality: if someone doesn't value you or your journey, no amount of explanation will change their perspective. Think about this for a moment. Every time you feel the need to explain yourself, you are giving a piece of your power away. You are placing your sense of worth in someone else's hands, hoping they will validate you. But self-respect demands that you rise above that. It demands that you understand your own value, even when others don't. When you truly respect yourself, you realize that your decisions are your own. They are shaped by your experiences, your beliefs, and your purpose. They don't need to be approved or understood by everyone around you. This doesn't mean you become dismissive or arrogant. It means you become discerning. You learn to recognize when an explanation is necessary and when it's not. Consider this: there are people in your life who genuinely care about you and your well-being. For these individuals, explanations can foster understanding and strengthen relationships. But then there are those who are more interested in judging you than understanding you. For these individuals, explanations become futile. No matter how clearly you articulate your reasons, they will twist your words, doubt your motives, and question your character. In these moments, the wisest choice is silence. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you value your peace more than their approval. Silence is not a sign of defeat, it is a sign of self-control. It shows that you are secure enough in your decisions that you don't need external validation to affirm them. Now, this approach is not easy. Walking away without explaining yourself can feel uncomfortable. It can leave you wondering if you've done the right thing, if you've missed an opportunity to clarify your intentions. But let me ask you this: if someone truly values you, do they need an explanation to understand your heart? And if they don't value you, will an explanation change their perception? The answer lies in the principle of self-respect. When you respect yourself, you stop seeking validation from those who don't see your worth. You stop trying to convince people who have already decided not to believe in you. Instead, you focus on living your truth, knowing that your actions will speak louder than your words ever could. One of the most liberating truths you can embrace is that not everyone will understand your journey, and that's okay. Your path is unique, shaped by experiences, challenges, and revelations that are yours alone. Expecting others to fully grasp your perspective is unrealistic and unnecessary. Their lack of understanding does not diminish the validity of your decisions. Self-respect also means setting boundaries. It means recognizing when someone's demands for explanations are not about seeking clarity, but about exerting control. There are people who will question you, not because they want to understand, but because they want to undermine your confidence. They thrive on making you doubt yourself, keeping you in a cycle of justification. Breaking free from this cycle requires courage. It requires the boldness to say, I don't owe you an explanation. When you adopt this mindset, you begin to move differently. You stop over-explaining yourself in situations where your intentions are already clear. You stop defending your actions to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. And most importantly, you stop seeking validation from those who are not invested in your growth. This shift in perspective doesn't just benefit you, it also impacts how others perceive you. When you carry yourself with self-respect, people take notice. They may not always agree with your decisions, but they will respect the confidence with which you make them. Your unwillingness to over-explain becomes a testament to your inner strength. Moreover, self-respect isn't just about how you interact with others, it's about how you interact with yourself. When you constantly explain and justify your actions, you plant seeds of doubt in your own mind. You start questioning your choices, second-guessing your instincts, and losing sight of your purpose. But when you choose self-respect over explanation, you reaffirm your confidence in your decisions. You remind yourself that you are capable, discerning, and guided by something greater than external opinions. There's a story often told about an eagle and a crow. The eagle, soaring high in the sky, is often followed by a crow, which pecks at its back. The eagle doesn't waste time trying to fight the crow or explain itself. It simply flies higher, knowing that the crow cannot survive at the altitude it is heading toward. This is the essence of self-respect. It's about rising above, not getting entangled in battles that don't deserve your attention. Self-respect is not about being cold or dismissive. It's about knowing your worth and protecting it. It's about recognizing that your energy is sacred and should not be wasted on those who don't appreciate it. It's about walking away from unnecessary battles with the confidence that your path is already set and you don't need anyone's permission to follow it. So the next time you find yourself tempted to explain your actions, ask yourself, is this explanation necessary? Will it bring clarity to someone who values me, or is it a futile effort to appease someone who doesn't? Choose wisely, because every explanation you give takes time and energy resources that could be better spent on your growth and purpose. Self-respect over explanation. It's not an easy path, but it's a freeing one. And in that freedom, you'll find the strength to keep moving forward, unburdened by the need for approval, and focused entirely on the journey ahead. Growth in disconnection. There comes a point in life when the very things that once nurtured us begin to hinder our growth. Relationships, environments, or routines that once felt essential can become barriers, holding us back from the next phase of our journey. Disconnection, though often painful, is sometimes the most powerful catalyst for growth. Growth requires change, and change demands separation. You cannot step into new territory while holding tightly to the past. It's not an easy truth to accept, but it is one that leads to transformation. Disconnection isn't about abandoning people or situations. It's about making room for the new by releasing what no longer aligns with your purpose. Disconnection is not rejection, it's redirection. When you disconnect from something or someone, it's not always because they are bad or wrong. It's because your path is calling you elsewhere. Growth is deeply personal, and not everyone is meant to walk with you through every stage of your life. Some relationships and situations are seasonal. They serve their purpose for a time, but when their season ends, holding on to them can stunt your progress. Consider a seed planted in the soil. For a time, the soil provides everything the seed needs: nourishment, stability, and protection. But there comes a moment when the seed must break out of the soil and push upward toward the light. The soil is no longer its environment. The seed must separate to grow. Similarly, there are times when disconnection is necessary to fulfill your potential. However, disconnection requires courage. It's never easy to let go of what is familiar, even when you know it's holding you back. Fear often whispers, what if this is as good as it gets? What if you let go and regret it? These fears are normal, but they are also deceptive. Growth is always a risk, but it is a risk worth taking. Remaining stagnant out of fear of the unknown will only lead to regret. When you disconnect, it's not just about leaving, it's about creating space for what's to come. Nature teaches us this principle beautifully. When a tree sheds its leaves in the fall, it's not dying, it's preparing for renewal. The tree understands that in order to bear new fruit, it must let go of what no longer serves it. Similarly, in your life, disconnection is a preparation for what lies ahead. But let's be honest, disconnection can feel isolating. When you walk away from relationships, environments, or habits, there will be moments of doubt. You may feel alone, misunderstood, or even judged. These moments are where true growth happens. They force you to look inward, to confront your fears, and to discover your strength. In the silence that follows disconnection, you find clarity. You begin to hear the whispers of your purpose more clearly. You start to understand what truly matters and who you are becoming. This clarity is a gift, one that can only be received when you have the courage to step away from the noise of the familiar. It's important to recognize that not everyone will understand your journey. When you choose to disconnect, some people may feel hurt or offended. They may question your motives or accuse you of selfishness. But growth is not about pleasing others, it's about fulfilling your purpose. You cannot carry the weight of others' expectations while trying to climb to new heights. Disconnection also teaches you the value of discernment. As you grow, you become more selective about what you allow into your life. You learn to recognize relationships and situations that align with your purpose and those that don't. This discernment is not about judgment, it's about stewardship. Your time, energy, and focus are precious resources, and growth requires you to invest them wisely. Another powerful lesson in disconnection is resilience. When you step away from what is comfortable, you are forced to rely on yourself in new ways. You discover strength you didn't know you had, creativity you hadn't tapped into, and faith that carries you through uncertainty. Disconnection builds character, teaching you to trust the process even when the outcome is unclear. Growth through disconnection is not just about individual progress, it also impacts the people around you. When you choose to grow, you inspire others to do the same. Your courage to let go and move forward can serve as a powerful example for those who are watching you. Sometimes your decision to disconnect becomes the very catalyst that others need to examine their own lives and make necessary changes. But growth is not without its cost. Disconnection often requires you to grieve what you leave behind. It's okay to mourn the loss of relationships, routines, or environments that once brought you joy. Grieving is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of love and gratitude for what those connections meant to you. Allow yourself to feel the loss, but don't let it hold you back. Ultimately, disconnection is an act of faith. It's trusting that what lies ahead is greater than what you are leaving behind. It's believing that your purpose is worth the discomfort of change. It's knowing that the growth you seek requires you to take steps that others might not understand. Growth in disconnection is not about isolation, it's about elevation. It's about rising to a new level where your purpose can flourish. It's about stepping into the unknown with the confidence that you are being guided towards something greater. When the time comes to disconnect, don't fear the process. Embrace it as a necessary part of your journey. Let go with grace, knowing that every ending is also a beginning. Trust that the growth you seek is on the other side of disconnection, waiting for you to take that step forward. Silence as a statement. Silence has the unique ability to communicate without words. It has the power to be louder than the most passionate argument, stronger than the fiercest debate, and more impactful than an endless string of justifications. Silence is not simply the absence of sound, it is a deliberate choice, a statement, a language of its own. And when used with intention, it can convey far more than 1,000 words ever could. The world we live in thrives on noise. Social media, conversations, arguments, opinions, demands, and expectations bombard us constantly. In this environment, making noise seems to be equated with strength, confidence, or dominance. People believe that speaking louder will make their point clearer, but they fail to realize that true power lies not in noise, but in stillness. Silence can be far more effective because it allows space for reflection, consideration, and understanding. Think about the way silence impacts people. Have you ever been in a heated argument with someone and reached a moment where you chose to stop talking? The other person, not expecting your quiet, is forced to confront their own words and actions. Silence creates a mirror. It allows others to see themselves without the need for you to point it out. It shifts the focus from external conflict to internal contemplation. When you use silence as a statement, you are essentially choosing not to engage in battles that have no purpose. You are choosing to prioritize your peace over pride, your clarity over chaos, and your values over external opinions. It's a way of showing strength, maturity, and self-control. It demonstrates that you are not moved by the noise around you, but are firmly anchored in your purpose. One of the most profound examples of this principle can be found in the idea of walking away without anger. Think of a person who is constantly engaged in unnecessary arguments, defending their position, and trying to prove their point over and over again. Their energy is spent trying to persuade those unwilling to listen. Now, think of another person who simply steps back in silence, refusing to engage in a fruitless exchange. That quiet person appears far stronger, far more assured, and far more in control because their silence speaks volumes about their confidence and their priorities. Silence can also be a strategic tool. When you're in a position where words would only escalate a situation or where speaking would give unnecessary weight to a perspective, silence allows you to maintain your power and your composure. It gives you the ability to step back, analyze, and make decisions without being influenced by emotion or external pressure. Some situations demand you wait, observe, and trust that time will reveal truth. When you embrace silence, you empower yourself to respond rather than react. Consider how many misunderstandings come from speaking too soon or speaking too much. We live in a culture that has glorified constant communication, but communication without wisdom can lead to hurt feelings, assumptions, and division. Silence allows wisdom to emerge. It gives you the opportunity to choose your words carefully, ensuring that you communicate only what needs to be communicated and nothing more. Silence as a statement is not passive. It is purposeful. It is not about weakness or avoidance. It is about confidence, discernment, and clarity. It is about knowing that you don't need to explain yourself to everyone and that you don't need to enter every battle simply because someone has invited you to it. Sometimes the most profound response is no response at all. There is a difference between speaking because you want to and speaking because you have to. When you speak because you want to, your words often carry emotional weight and are filled with intent. But when you find yourself speaking because you have to out of fear, frustration, or the pressure to be heard, your words lose their strength. Silence allows you to reset. It allows you to align your thoughts and intentions with clarity rather than emotion. Let's not forget the profound spiritual aspect of silence. Many of the greatest breakthroughs, revelations, and moments of clarity come in stillness. When you quiet your mind, your environment, and your heart, you open yourself to greater understanding and divine guidance. Silence allows you to connect with your purpose on a deeper level. It allows you to hear the voice within, and for those with faith, the whispers of guidance that come from a higher power. It is in silence that you create the sacred space for self-reflection. It is in that stillness that you ask the important questions: who am I? What is my purpose? What do I want to become? Where am I going? These questions cannot be answered in the midst of noise or chaos. They require the absence of distraction and the presence of stillness. Silence creates the conditions for transformation. It allows you to examine your path, identify patterns, and determine whether your journey is aligned with your goals and dreams. But silence as a statement is also a way of creating boundaries. There are people in life who demand explanations, attention, or validation, even when it comes at the expense of your peace. Choosing to remain silent in these situations is a clear message: I value my peace over your demands. My energy is sacred, and I will not allow it to be drained by unnecessary conversations or expectations. Silence sets a standard and teaches others that you are not to be manipulated or coerced into a position that compromises your peace. It also reminds others of their accountability. When you stop engaging in constant back and forth arguments, debates, or manipulations, you force those around you to reflect on their own behavior. They are no longer shielded by your words or your explanations. Instead, they are left to evaluate themselves, their actions, and their perspectives. This is powerful. It puts the responsibility for understanding back on their shoulders rather than yours. Silence is a form of emotional freedom. It allows you to disengage from toxicity without adding fuel to the fire. It allows you to walk away from situations without having to prove you were right or that your intentions were pure. In silence, you give yourself permission to let go and trust that truth will reveal itself in time. You free yourself from the burden of constantly defending your heart, your decisions, and your actions. The beauty of silence as a statement is that it has long-term impact. While words can be forgotten or twisted, silence leaves a lasting impression. People may forget what you said, but they will not forget how your silence made them feel. It creates a space of respect, maturity, and strength, one that will linger far longer than any argument could. So the next time you find yourself in a moment of conflict, pause. Ask yourself whether your words are necessary or if silence would communicate a far greater message. Ask yourself whether you are entering a battle that doesn't deserve your energy. Recognize that silence is not a sign of weakness. It is a declaration of strength, discipline, and purpose. It is a reminder that you are grounded, focused, and unwilling to compromise your peace for empty victories. Silence speaks louder than words when you understand its purpose and its power. Use it wisely, intentionally, and with confidence. It has the ability to transform relationships, redefine conflicts, and affirm your inner strength. In a world that is constantly demanding, learning to be silent can be one of the most liberating acts of all. Freedom through forgiveness. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful, liberating, and transformative principles in life. Yet, for many, it remains one of the most challenging. Forgiveness is not merely a word or a sentiment. It is a deliberate choice, an act of strength, and a path toward freedom. It is not about condoning hurtful behavior or erasing the pain caused by others. Forgiveness is about releasing the burden you carry so that you can live free from its chains. Too many people are held hostage by their inability to forgive. They allow resentment, anger, pain, and bitterness to take root in their hearts, believing that holding on to these feelings gives them control. But the truth is, unforgiveness does the opposite. It doesn't imprison the person who hurt you, it imprisons you. It keeps you in a state of suffering, preventing you from stepping into the life you were meant to live. Think about the weight of unforgiveness for a moment. Every time you replay the hurt, the betrayal, the disappointment, or the injustice, you are allowing it to live in your heart. You are carrying it as a constant reminder of pain, as though you're handing it permission to rob you of your joy, your peace, and your future. The problem is that holding on to unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It doesn't work that way. You are the one who suffers. Forgiveness does not mean you forget what happened or pretend it didn't hurt. It does not mean you allow toxic individuals to continue mistreating you. Forgiveness is not about letting someone off the hook. It's about setting yourself free from the emotional and spiritual weight of carrying resentment. It's about reclaiming your peace and taking your life back from the hands of pain and bitterness. One of the most freeing truths about forgiveness is understanding that it is a choice, not a feeling. Forgiveness is not something you wait to feel ready for. You may never feel ready to forgive someone who has hurt you, but you can make a choice to release them anyway. It is a choice to stop allowing their actions to define your life, to stop allowing their mistakes to control your future. Forgiveness starts with you. It begins with a decision to let go, to surrender the pain, and to trust that you are worthy of peace, joy, and healing. This isn't always easy because pain has a way of digging deep into the soul. But healing is never about avoiding pain. It's about facing it, addressing it, and then choosing to let it go. You can't free yourself from the chains of resentment until you acknowledge the weight you've been carrying. Here's the truth: forgiveness is the ultimate act of self-love. When you forgive, you are not just releasing someone else from their actions, you are freeing yourself from their power. You are saying, I will no longer allow your actions to have authority over my life. Forgiveness allows you to reclaim your power, to live your life without the constant burden of bitterness or anger. And here's the key: when you forgive, you give yourself permission to heal. Healing comes when you decide that your peace is more important than the pain. It comes when you choose to put down the weight of anger and resentment, to stop replaying the what ifs and should haves in your mind. Forgiveness allows you to make peace with the past so you can step into the future without the heavy baggage of old wounds. It allows you to step into the fullness of life without the constant shadow of pain following you. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you'll allow people back into your life if they are toxic or harmful. It doesn't mean that you'll trust them again, especially if they've shown themselves to be untrustworthy. Forgiveness is not about reconciliation, it's about release. It's about saying, I don't need to carry this burden anymore. I release you and I release myself from the weight of this pain. Sometimes forgiveness is hardest when it involves forgiving ourselves. Many people struggle with guilt, shame, and regret for mistakes they've made, and they find it almost impossible to forgive themselves. But here's the truth: you cannot give forgiveness to others if you cannot give it to yourself. Self-forgiveness is a declaration that you are not defined by your mistakes. It's a declaration that you are allowed to learn, grow, and move forward without being stuck in the past. Forgiving yourself is about accepting that you are human and that mistakes are part of the journey. You cannot change the past, but you can choose to learn from it and use it to become better, wiser, and stronger. You can choose to see your mistakes as opportunities for growth rather than as a sentence that must forever imprison you. Self-forgiveness is an act of grace and humility. It allows you to live without the burden of regret and the weight of perfection. Freedom through forgiveness also allows you to live without the need for revenge. Many people believe that revenge is the path to healing, but revenge only keeps the pain alive. It keeps you in a cycle of anger and retaliation, unable to break free from the hold of resentment. Forgiveness is the act of letting go without demanding repayment, without perpetuating cycles of pain. It is a refusal to allow the actions of another to control your emotional state. It is strength in choosing peace over pride. When you choose forgiveness, you recognize that you are no longer a prisoner of the actions of others. You are choosing to live with an open heart and a free mind. You are choosing to move forward, to embrace peace, and to let joy return to your life. Forgiveness shifts your focus from what was taken or what was done to what can be created moving forward. It allows you to step into new possibilities, new relationships, and new opportunities without carrying the baggage of the past. The process of forgiveness is a journey. It is not something that happens overnight. You may find yourself wrestling with pain, anger, and memories along the way, but that's okay. Healing is not about perfection, it's about progress. Each time you choose to forgive, you release a little more of the burden. Every choice brings you closer to freedom. It may take time, but the process is worth it. You are worth it. Forgiveness is freedom. It is liberation from pain, anger, resentment, bitterness, and fear. It is a choice to live with peace, joy, and lightness. It is a choice to allow yourself to heal and to move forward unburdened by the chains of the past. You have the power to choose freedom by choosing forgiveness. This is not weakness, this is strength. It is. Choosing forgiveness is a journey, and like any journey, it comes with its challenges. There will be moments when pain tries to return, when memories attempt to reestablish their hold. But every time you choose to let go, you reaffirm your strength, your courage, and your commitment to live a life that is no longer defined by pain or bitterness. With each step toward forgiveness, you are not just freeing the other person, you are setting yourself free. Forgiving others doesn't make them right, it simply allows you to move on without the burden of resentment dragging you down. Forgiving yourself doesn't erase your mistakes, it acknowledges your growth and your willingness to learn from your experiences. Both are acts of grace that will heal your heart, strengthen your spirit, and transform your life. You are worthy of peace. You are worthy of joy. You are worthy of healing. Forgiveness is your pathway to stepping into these truths. It is not about perfection. It's about choosing freedom, choosing love, and choosing hope even in the face of pain. And when you forgive, you create space not only for healing, but for new possibilities, new relationships, and new opportunities. The choice to forgive is ultimately a choice to believe that your future is greater than your pain, that your purpose is greater than your resentment, and that your story can still be rewritten. So choose forgiveness, not because the other person deserves it, but because you do. Choose freedom. Choose peace. Choose joy. And in that choice, watch as your life transforms from one defined by burdens to one that is light, free, and limitless.